Bravo for the Maestro. This season, the expressive Maestro Diemecke celebrates his 25th year with the Flint Symphony Orchestra.
Hi, welcome to the Flint Symphony Orchestra January concert. To start the concert, we have a work by Colombian composer Lucho Bermúdez. Lucho Bermúdez was known for his big band orchestra that he had in Colombia, and he was composing music for this group, and most of the music were cumbias, salsas, something very popular. We are just commemorating 100 years of his birth, and someone got some of the melodies and made a paraphrasis, as he called this work, with melodies and tunes of the most famous works that he composed, and he called it Calamari. So Alexis Tovar is the person that put together all these melodies and created this work that we want to perform for you. Now let me tell you a little bit about it. Some of the melodies are very well known in Colombia and probably well known outside Colombia in the Latino world. Calamari, written by Alexis Tovar from tunes by Lucho Bermúdez. Enjoy it. The centerpiece of the concert is a concerto. Normally we perform a piece for piano, orchestra, violin, orchestra, cello, trumpet, French horn, marimba or something. In this case, it is a piece that is going to use a cello and percussion as the features for the concert piece. And the name of the piece is Camino y Visión. That is a work that I wrote in commemoration of the moments of the turn into the 21st century. So it was commissioned by the festival in Mexico called the Cervantes Festival. So as we know, Cervantes wrote a very famous story or stories about a famous character named Don Quixote. Well, the idea of the Camino Visión is Don Quixote appearing in the 21st century. Yes, as it might sound a little bit fantasy, of course, that's the whole idea. Then suddenly in the music we have that kind of a feeling that someone just appears in a different time. In this case, Don Quixote appears in the city of Guanajuato, Mexico. The cello in the orchestra is going to be Don Quixote. So every time a cellist is going to be playing, in this case it's going to be performed by Cecilia Zhang, a wonderful cellist, would guide us into the character of Don Quixote. For closing the program, we have chosen a piece by Ludwig van Beethoven. Beethoven, as we all know, he composed 9 symphonies, and we chose this time to perform the number 3. This symphony was written at the time when Napoleon Bonaparte was conquering Europe, was organizing Europe to be a nation. But some places were a little upset because he named himself emperor. And Beethoven was one of those and was very upset seeing that Bonaparte, Napoleon, had crowned himself emperor of Europe. He had written this piece dedicated to his honor, but because of being very upset about that, he scratched the name Napoleon. And instead of that, he put Eroica, which means heroic, because still the spirit of the piece have some heroism. Let me tell you a little bit of the construction of this piece, because it's one of the most important pieces in classical music and in the symphonic world, because it has lots of innovations. Beethoven innovated certain things: orchestration, and also in the format of the compositions. In this piece, instead of having a long introduction, he uses only 2 chords. Just immediately does bam, bam, goes immediately into the main theme. So that was new. They didn't do that before that. But there is another innovation coming up very quickly. That most of the first movements of symphonies or concertos in those periods, in classical periods, romantic periods, they had one theme or 2 themes. Then when they extend it, they make it 2 themes. In the case of the Eroica, or the 3rd Symphony, it has 3 themes. So one innovation more to add to this symphony. But just close to the end, he has a little bit of reminiscence of the Funeral March, just like probably thinking of the way he was feeling about Napoleon crowning himself emperor. And after that kind of sad or solemn and serious moment, he closes then rapidly, very fast, and saying, "This is it, bam, bam," and finishes the work. So this is Symphony number 3 by Ludwig van Beethoven, so called the Eroica.